I don't think I wasn't aware until you and I talked of the scale of this issue. I bet most members of the public aren't aware. So educate us this morning. What are we talking about there?
So, Senator, when I was there in 2018, it was common knowledge that you could see the influence in Mexico City. We used to walk out of the U.S. Embassy and walk over across the street and see the influence of tour buses with Chinese nationals coming in and out of Mexico City. Some of the biggest money laundering cases that were being conducted in Mexico City were of Chinese nationals picking up bulk load cash in Mexico based on the transactions they had with the cartel leadership in Mexico. This is extremely disturbing. This has been going on for years. It has not been reported. It has not been properly investigated. And we need to build this multi-coalition of federal law enforcement, U.S. federal law enforcement, with judicial tools to reach deep into Mexico, target them, and bring them to justice because they are killing too many Americans every single day.
Welcome back to Hot News Today. Senator Josh Hawley is making waves in a fiery Senate hearing. At the center, fentanyl, the deadly drug devastating communities across America. Hawley applauded Mr. Cole, nominated to lead the DEA, for promising a crackdown on China's role. What was revealed about China, Mexico, and Canada will shock you. Senator Hawley didn't hold back. He highlighted that nearly 90% of fentanyl in the U.S. is traced to China. Hawley reminded everyone fentanyl is now Missouri's leading cause of adult deaths. He pressed, why is the DEA retreating from China, and how will this nominee address it? Mr. Cole pledged to take the fight directly to China, stressing that diplomacy must be backed by sanctions and pressure. He warned the U.S. can't afford to play nice while Americans die. Cole also revealed Chinese nationals are embedded with Mexican cartels acting as brokers and money launderers.
But Mr. Cole, let me just start with you, if I could. I want to go back to the subject of China, which I think you've talked a little bit about already in today's hearing. As you know, official estimates put Chinese responsibility for the fentanyl in the United States at about 90%. That's a staggeringly high number. This is very personal to me because fentanyl is the leading cause of death in my state for any individual over the age of 18. I could say as a former law enforcement official in my state that you can go to any community in the state of Missouri, rural, urban, north, south, east, west, doesn't matter, and you will find all of our communities awash in drugs that are coming from across the southern border largely, and many of them, the precursors at least, coming from China. So let me just ask you a little bit about what needs to happen with regard to our efforts in China. I'm aware of press reports, I'm sure you are too, that the DEA actually closed 2 of 4 field offices in China last year. My question to you is, what are we going to do to reverse the trend of retreating DEA operations in China? What do we need to do to send this in the other direction so that we stop the massive flow of fentanyl precursors ultimately into this country from there?
Cole painted a disturbing picture. Chinese nationals in Mexico City openly working with cartels, tour buses, bulk cash pickups, and deep financial ties, right under the government's nose. Cole says the answer is a multi-agency coalition, like Colombia's, using technology and intelligence.
Senator, thank you for your question. I appreciate the discussion yesterday as well. This is paramount that we re-engage with China, with diplomacy, but also with strict sanctions and diplomatic pressure if they don't adhere to it. The other thing of note that we briefly spoke about yesterday was the amount of Chinese influence in Mexico as well, where they are sending their Chinese membership into Mexico, into Culiacan, into Jalisco, to be representatives and first-line brokers. And that needs to stop immediately. And the Mexican government needs to cooperate and identify who those people are and allow us to conduct legal judicial cases against them.
But Hawley pressed further. What about Canada? Some dismiss America's northern neighbor as irrelevant in the fentanyl fight. Cole explained how Vancouver's ports are used to move chemical precursors into North America.
Say a little bit, if you would, about the scale of the growing Chinese influence in Mexico. I don't think I wasn't aware until you and I talked of the scale of this issue. I bet most members of the public aren't aware. So educate us this morning. What are we talking about there?
So, Senator, when I was there in 2018, it was common knowledge that you could see the influence in Mexico City. We used to walk out of the U.S. Embassy and walk over across the street and see the influence of tour buses with Chinese nationals coming in and out of Mexico City. Some of the biggest money laundering cases that were being conducted in Mexico City were of Chinese nationals picking up bulk load cash in Mexico based on the transactions they had with the cartel leadership in Mexico. This is extremely disturbing. This has been going on for years. It has not been reported. It has not been properly investigated. And we need to build this multi-coalition of federal law enforcement, U.S. federal law enforcement, with judicial tools to reach deep into Mexico, target them, and bring them to justice because they are killing too many Americans every single day.
Canada is losing citizens to the same poison. Both nations must see this as a shared crisis. Hawley warned that ignoring Canada's role is a grave mistake.
What do we need to expect from our Mexican partners in this regard? What do we need to go to them and say, we need your cooperation with XYZ? I mean, map that out for us a little bit.
So we are more than willing, the DEA and the other federal agencies that are involved in the law enforcement end, of building that capacity, showing them what good looks like, bringing in the Colombians to show them what the roadmap was 25, 30 years ago. Was it perfect then? No, but they have an amazing police force currently in Colombia. They went from monitoring 20 phone lines initially to have the capacity to 18,000 phone lines and above today. We need that same cooperation in Mexico. This needs to stop. We need to quit losing American lives to this poison that is coming from Mexico, fueled by the Chinese.
You and I also talked about the growing Chinese influence in Canada, which I think is also underreported and probably not well understood at all. Tell us about that. What is it that we need to be on the lookout for there, and what does DEA need to do in order to reverse the same trends that we're seeing?
I think we've seen an increase not only in the population there coming across the northern border, but with the ports in Vancouver and other places, key critical staging ports to receive bulk cargo of shipments of precursors and other goods. It is a key stakeholder for the United States to have more of a presence in Canada, more of a bilateral agreement with Canada, and more of an urgency to stop not only the killing in the United States, but they are losing significant Canadian citizens due to fentanyl in their country.
As the exchange ended, Senator Hawley stressed that Mr. Cole is not just qualified, but urgently needed. Cole's leadership was called critical, as American families lose loved ones daily. The warning was clear: without action, fentanyl will keep flooding American streets.
When some say, Mr. Cole, that when it comes to Canada and fentanyl, Canada's not a significant source of fentanyl to this country. Canada's not a security threat to us in any way. When the president, for instance, has used national security authorities to impose tariffs and other measures citing fentanyl and national security concerns, there's been many who've dismissed that. You're saying, though, today, we need to be concerned about what's happening north of the border. The Canadians need to be concerned about what's happening with their own borders. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say, yes, sir.
I look forward to you serving in this position. I think you are eminently qualified for it. Your background is outstanding. Your vision for this at a critical time for this agency, I think, is much needed. I'll have some questions for you for the record, Mr. Serralta. Sorry that I didn't get to you, though you're probably pleased about that. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. This hearing was a call to arms against America's deadliest drug crisis. Senator Hawley emphasized that China, Mexico, and Canada are part of the problem. Only strong action can protect American lives. Subscribe for more updates and in-depth reporting.